Chapter 2430 1. The Silver Throne 1. On the Silver Throne, some of the 12 queens, who seemed to have existed forever, slowly opened their eyes. They lowered their heads, their eyes devoid of any emotion, and simply gazed silently at the earthlings before them. Having existed for so long, they have become a kind of spiritual force. Because they already knew everything in the universe, and they had witnessed the birth and demise of generations of humankind. Zhang Yi felt a slight chill and bowed slightly, saying, "On the 12 thrones of the radiant moon, human Zhang Yi pays respects to the queens." On the towering throne, the 12 silver goddesses remained seated quietly. Some of them had their eyes closed, their faces as if they were asleep in an eternal dream. However, in the next instant, as if piercing through the barriers of time and space, that ethereal and sacred voice resonated directly in Zhang Yi's mind. "People of Earth, you have finally arrived. Are you the one chosen by the 4 horsemen? Ling, are you still there?" Their voices, whether clear, deep, gentle, or cold, all carried the power accumulated over millions of years, like echoes from the depths of the starry sea. Ling's real name is Zero, which is the beginning of all things and also the end of all things. As a combat entity created with the highest technology of the Ishtar race, she is a collection of a large amount of ether, allowed to exist by the Creator, and the highest level Ishtar life form created by the Ishtar race. Indeed, as the most powerful race in the universe, the Ihen race can create life of the same level. The 4 knights represent their collective strong will and are also their guardians. Therefore, the Silver Moon Throne members were naturally curious about what kind of being Ling had gained their approval. Facing these powerful beings who have existed for billions of years, Zhang Yi dared not conceal anything. He made Yang Xinxin appear in front of everyone and explain the whole story. After all, there were only 3 people who were recognized by the 4 knights. Yang Xinxin, on the other hand, has gained the approval of both knights. After hearing the whole story, the Silver Thrones remained expressionless. The collective ascension of the Tianyu Palace was merely expected. However, those people have different beliefs from them. They are unwilling to abandon themselves and return to the etheric world. A short-haired Silver Throne looked at Zhang Yi and said, "I sense her presence from you. Could you make her appear and meet us?" Zhang Yi's heart skipped a beat, realizing that the person the other party was referring to was Ling. Without any hesitation, he raised his hand and took out Ling's human form. It was the body of a flawless young girl, quietly radiating a faint glow, like a silent moon, her eyes cold yet carrying an indelible aura. The moment Ling appeared, she calmly met the gazes of the 12 silver thrones. She viewed the Silver Throne as the Silver Throne viewed Zhang Yi. As the supreme being of the Ihen race, even if only a shell remains, the human form possessing Ling's complete memories can still look down upon these newcomers. The 12 thrones resonated intensely in an instant. The entire silver crystal world trembled violently, and endless moonlight surged like a tide, reflecting on Na Ling's human form. It really was her. The flame of Tianyu Palace has actually fallen to this state. The wheel of fate has rolled this far. The cowardice of the conservatives has only delayed the destruction. The voices of several silver goddesses were tinged with sighs and coldness. Some of them were filled with emotion, as if recalling the glory of the heavenly palace standing tall billions of years ago. Others coldly criticized, their words sharp and cutting, directly pointing to the conservative Ahen tribe's retreat and weakness. They believe that their shirking of their original responsibilities has led the universe to the brink of irreversible collapse. When facing Ling, they could no longer maintain their composure, and their questions seemed to be venting their inner dissatisfaction. They couldn't understand why the powerful, godlike Ihen clan would end up like this. Extinction. Yes, extinction. Returning to the ether would mean erasing the entire ephemeral race, which they find hard to accept. Ling looked at them, but her face remained expressionless. "They're just a bunch of kids." Zhang Yi listened quietly, his eyes deep. He knew this was a rare opportunity for him, so he asked in a deep voice, "Your Majesties, I want to know, where is this world headed? I don't aspire to save the universe, nor do I want to bear the fate of all humanity. I simply hope that I and the people around me can live peacefully and happily under the sky. His voice was strong and his tone was frank, without any concealment. He is not a saint. He has no intention of sacrificing everything for strangers. All he sought was peace and tranquility for himself and his loved ones. A moment of silence. The short-haired Silver Queen chuckled softly. Didn't she tell you? She spoke to Zhang Yi, but her gaze was clearly fixed on Ling. Zhang Yi had certainly asked Ling about this matter. He said helplessly, the person you see before you has all of Ling's memories, but she is ultimately not the original. The meaning is clear. She doesn't possess the same powerful abilities as Ling, such as the ability to foresee the future. Moreover, Tianyu Palace has sealed itself off, and they haven't observed the outside world for a long time, so of course they know nothing about it. Finally, a Silver Queen sitting at the highest point slowly opened her eyes. They were pupils like a collection of stars, deep and unfathomable, as if they could pierce through Zhang Yi. She spoke, her voice deep and resonant, carrying a solemnity that transcended all else. This era may be the greatest catastrophe since the birth of the universe. Fate has come to an end. The demons are awakening one by one, and the protective rules left by the Creator will gradually dissipate. At that time, heaven and earth will collapse, stars will fall, and no one knows what will happen in the end. Her tone was heavy, but there was no falsehood in it. Even we, the Aihen people who came from the path of ascension, may not be able to survive. Zhang Yi held his breath, his eyes suddenly narrowing. The Silver Queen continued, only one thing is certain. Only by constantly becoming stronger can one have a sliver of hope for survival. The weak will be crushed by fate. The strong may be able to escape by sheer luck. There is no other way. Her words, like a divine pronouncement, resounded throughout the entire underground world of silver crystal. Zhang Yi remained silent for a long time, then slowly clenched his fist. He wasn't afraid of destruction, but he knew he had to keep getting stronger for the sake of those around him. Even if the entire universe collapses, he will continue to live on the ruins with his loved ones. The silvery glow of the moon shone on him, stretching his shadow to an incredibly long length. Chapter 2432, The Silver Throne 2. The meaning expressed by the Silver Throne is no different from that of the Black Moon priests. They're all saying that the sixth generation of humanity will face the greatest catastrophe in history. A calamity that was almost inescapable. With a glimmer of hope, Zhang Yi asked, I don't want to fight. Can I just run away? If that's the case, do you have any good suggestions? The expressions on the faces of the 12 silver thrones remained unchanged. Escaping may be shameful, but it's effective. They won't scoff at Zhang Yi's choice. Your power level has reached level 5, so your lifespan will also become much longer. If one day you can reach our level of power, you may even come close to immortality. At times like these, no matter where you run, you will become prey for the Druckers. The short-haired Silver Moon Throne said softly, that's why we must suppress Samuel. Either we seal him away, or we wait for him to break free and spread throughout the universe, devouring us. Therefore, running away is useless. The Silver Moon Queen told Zhang Yi an incredibly cruel truth. This caused Zhang Yi to fall silent. Kagago wants to update the human generation, just like a programmer updates program code. If the Druckers were to resurrect, they would still devour them. It's truly a case of being surrounded by wolves in front and pursuers behind. It seems that I have no other choice but to keep getting stronger so that I can at least fight against the Druckers. Zhang Yi took a deep breath, then clenched his fist and said firmly, Fight against the Druckers? A voice filled with doubt came from behind. On the silver throne, several queens stared at Zhang Yi, their eyes filled with shock and regret. They seemed to be looking at a child who didn't know any better. Zhang Yi felt a little embarrassed by the stares. Countering the Druckers has been the goal of almost all human races in the material world for over 4 billion years. Your Majesty, may I ask just how powerful the Druck people are? A silver queen replied, I have learned everything about you Earthlings. I will answer you in terms you can understand. According to your definition of the levels of alien energy, the 12 of us belong to the king level, and the druk people belong to the omega. Although Zhang Yi was mentally prepared, he still couldn't help but secretly swallow. A being of the rank of 12 kings. If any one of these 12 were to descend to Earth, they would likely be able to sweep away more than 80% of ancient civilizations. And the Drucker is undoubtedly at the Omega level. However, your ability level classification is too simplistic. The difference between the King level and the Omega level is not small. A long-haired, silver-haired queen spoke with a voice as clear as a mountain spring. Do you know what Omega stands for? Does it mean something incredibly powerful, even capable of contending with the will of the Creator? Zhang Yi replied, represents the infinite. Wuji. Yes, Wuji. It means infinite and without limit. Queen Silvermoon answered truthfully. This is a completely different and entirely new realm, a level that transcends life in the ordinary sense. Their strength is immense. Even we find it difficult to fully comprehend. She suddenly looked at Ling, who was silently floating in midair. She knows it better than we do. After all, she is a true Omega level. Even the most powerful Drucker would have to bow down before her sword. Zhang Yi suddenly looked at Ling, who gave her a nonchalant glance. Mother. Roll. Zhang Yi touched his nose dejectedly. He'd probably been playing too much card games lately, but he really wanted to curry favor with someone powerful. Wuji. Wuji. He silently repeated the word to himself, gaining a new understanding of the Drucker's strength. But there's no rush to ask that question again. I'll ask Ling properly later and have her explain it to me. The underworld beneath the silver throne still radiates an incomparably magnificent glow, with the aura of the 12 goddesses enveloping the entire space, as if time itself has frozen at this moment. However, right there within this sacred silver crystal wall, a sudden aura of darkness slowly emerged. Zhang Yi's heart suddenly skipped a beat. At the edge of the void, black flames quietly ignited. The flames shone without any light, yet they devoured everything around them, as if even light and order were about to collapse beneath them. A young man dressed in a black robe slowly emerged from the flames. His footsteps were light and silent. His face was blurred, as if shrouded in mist, yet it exuded an overwhelming sense of presence. Black flames swirled around him, and with each breath, the light of the entire underground world seemed to flicker. Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed slightly. He recognized him. He had seen that figure before in the illusion of the dark sun forest, the shepherd. But at this moment, the shepherd's figure was no longer gentle, but carried a deep darkness and an ancient pressure. He maintained his calm smile, ignoring the silver throne beside him, and walked towards Zhang Yi. Only when he saw Ling did his eyes reveal a deep-seated fear. You finally chose to leave. How laughable, giving up your own path to godhood to merge into the ether sea. At the same moment, the 12 silver goddesses' gazes suddenly sharpened. The crystal palace trembled violently, and the silver light and black flames collided in the air, producing a piercing, cracking sound. The young man gently raised his head, his eyes like a burning abyss. Zhang Yi. His voice was deep, yet possessed a strange magnetism, as if it could penetrate the depths of one's soul. He was smiling as he looked at Zhang Yi, but there was no emotion in his eyes. It's like a human watching an interesting little insect. You really are extraordinary. You even managed to gain her approval. His gaze fell on Ling's human form in Zhang Yi's arms, flames churning violently, and his voice carried an undisguised apprehension. Ling, even after sleeping for billions of years, she still keeps me from sleeping peacefully. Zhang Yi was startled and realized his identity. This is no ordinary man, but the sin of wrath, Samel, the spiritual will of the Drucker Titan. Even with the suppression of the 12 silver thrones, his spirit, Anwil, could not be completely extinguished. He actually appeared in front of everyone in a very brazen way. Samuel's spiritual form smiled slightly, and as the flames flickered, the boundaries of space seemed to tremble. Zhang-Yi, the sixth generation of humans. You possess a tenacity and obsession that I have never seen in any other life form. If you are willing to submit to me, I will grant you eternal life and endless power. You will no longer fear death, nor be bound by fate. Chapter 2433, The Silver Throne 3. His voice was like the most deadly temptation, seemingly able to stir up the deepest desires in people's hearts. Zhang Yi's mind wavered slightly. Eternal life? Infinite power? He had considered, if he could obtain such power to protect his family and himself, should he really reach out and grab it? His eyes were deep, and he was actually thinking very seriously. Nonsense. As long as I can become stronger and save my life, what difference does it make who I follow? Just then, a faint but clear female voice rang in Zhang Yi's ears. Hey kid, don't be fooled by him. Zhang Yi's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately realized that it was Ling's voice. These Drucker men are the worst liars. They only ever weave lies. Everything they promise is a trap to drag you into the abyss. Don't believe them. Zhang Yi's eyes flickered, and his fists clenched slightly, but he still did not answer immediately. Even the Dark Moon race, a race created by Samuel, was able to betray him. Samuel's character is evident. He really can't be trusted easily. Samuel didn't seem to be in a hurry. He stood with his hands behind his back, his gaze piercing through the void as he watched Zhang-Yi with a smile. You don't need to answer me right away. But you must understand that the truth of this world is not what you imagine it to be. Creator Kagago. He is not the god you praise, but merely a cold experimenter. He created the world only to leave behind a giant petri dish. And we. His gaze suddenly turned cold, and the black flames roared outwards, as if they were about to burn down the entire space. It's just a germ that was dropped into a petri dish. You devour each other and fight each other, all for the sake of consuming more nutrients and surviving longer. This is the essence of this world. His voice boomed and echoed, like a world-destroying bell, enveloping everyone's hearts. Therefore, stop hoping for peace and stop fantasizing about salvation. Only by devouring others and destroying enemies can we survive. Zhang-Yi, choose. Will you continue to struggle to your last breath as an insignificant germ? Or will you join me and become the master of the entire petri dish? The air froze, and the expressions of the 12 silver goddesses all changed. Intense silver light and black flames collided constantly, and the whole world seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Zhang-Yi stood in the center, his eyes deep and unfathomable, his heart churning with turbulent emotions, yet he remained silent. He did not answer. But behind him, Ling's human form flickered slightly, as if that light was protecting his will and preventing him from falling. Zhang-Yi listened quietly to Samuel's words, which were full of temptation and oppression. His eyes darkened slightly, and he suddenly spoke, his voice clear and firm. Samuel, you said we are germs in a petri dish, weak, helpless, and pitiful, only able to be controlled by others for life and death. But you've forgotten that although germs are tiny, they can still take a person's life. No matter how powerful the Creator is, he may not be able to control us forever. One day, I will find my own way out and escape his control. He smiled and met Samuel's gaze. Isn't this exactly what you're doing? This one sentence seemed to ignite the entire silent crystal world. Within the black flames, Samuel's figure suddenly trembled, then erupted into a thunderous burst of maniacal laughter. Ha 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 ha. His laughter echoed loudly, as if it could shatter the heavens and the earth. Interesting. Very interesting. Zhang-Yi, you are indeed extraordinary. You humans are truly products created by the Creator using our Drucker genes. Despite your weakness, you possess a rebellious and unyielding spirit deep within your bones. This kind of rebellion, it really excites me. Ha ha ha. Black flames rolled, and Samuel's figure grew taller and taller in the flames, as if he were about to tear apart the entire underground world. He suddenly raised a finger and tapped Zhang-Yi's forehead. His actions contained no murderous intent. After all, he was merely a mental construct at this moment and could not bring himself to kill Zhang Yi in front of the 12 silver thrones and Ling. Or rather, he didn't need to do that. To him now, Zhang Yi is indeed just a slightly stronger insect. At that moment, Zhang Yi froze, and countless abyss-like images suddenly flashed before his eyes. As the galaxy collapsed and matter was annihilated, billions of living beings turned into dust, and in the endless void, the will of darkness roared in like a torrent. He saw boundless flames, flowing angrily across the entire planet. Volcanoes erupted one after another, and blazing flames and lava engulfed the entire planet, burning everything in their path. Millions of years ago, an apocalyptic catastrophe struck, a volcanic eruption. Is all of this related to Samuel before us? A strange yet extremely powerful force flowed into his body from his fingertips. Zhang Yi's whole body trembled violently, and his supernatural abilities and soul were altered in an instant, as if they were branded with some unique symbol. That power did not belong to the netherworld, nor to Earth, but to something more ancient, profound, and indescribable. Ling's human form emitted a faint light, seemingly on guard, but soon she sensed that Samuel meant no harm, and the light gradually subsided. The 12 silver goddesses also had cold eyes, but they did not intervene. They remained silent, watching the scene with cold eyes. Samuel's laughter grew increasingly unrestrained, his voice like thunder in the darkness, reverberating in everyone's ears. Very good. You, Zhang Yi, a sixth-generation descendant, have certainly not disappointed me. Live on. Struggle. Maybe one day you'll bring me a surprise I never expected. At that time, I will be waiting for you in the future. Black flames exploded, and the shepherd's figure slowly disappeared into the darkness. His laughter faded into the distance, but it still echoed in every corner of the crystal world. Zhang Yi stood there, his expression cold and stern, the burning sensation from that moment still lingering on his forehead. His breathing was heavy, his heart was racing, and the unfamiliar power within him was intertwining and merging with his original power, bringing an unprecedented sense of pressure and power. A moment later, he slowly raised his head, his eyes revealing an unprecedented coldness. Samuel is gone, but what he left behind is like a brand that can never be erased. The underworld of the Radiant Moon Empire is still shrouded in that soft and holy silver light. The black flames that had taken Samuel away had long since dissipated, and peace had returned to the world. But beneath that calmness emanated a strange sense of oppression, as if even the air itself had become heavy. Zhang Yi stood there, the burning sensation on his forehead not yet completely gone. Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you.